Will we know everything that's wrong with her?
I think, again, there's patient confidentiality, and it's up to the patient to disclose what they want to disclose. If a patient comes to the New York Cardiac Diagnostic Center and they fill out forms in our office, confidentiality forms, HIPAA forms.
But would that happen in an emergency room, though?
I don't think the emergency room can disclose anything unless she gives permission, really. I mean,
right, but it will be out there, though. It could be the sort of thing that could ultimately be leaked, particularly in a New York City.
It's possible. You know, it's possible.
So, Mark, here we are. Listen, this is an election that's been one for the ages, so to speak. I mean, you're a historian, you're a scholar, you understand this. Where do you see anything changing with respect to legally or at least paradigm-wise with how people run for president from here on out, and what kind of questions and answers should be demanded and given to the public?
Well, I think it's certainly been an exciting presidential election year, Charles, as you can imagine, and to some degree unprecedented. And I think, you know, as to all the different things that occurred down the road, I don't know. One wonders. I don't have a great answer. If I could predict the future, then I'd be on the Wall Street.
But rules change, right? Rules evolve
sure,
as things happen. So we've seen a lot of things that have happened this time around. Is it unreasonable to think that certain things, certain rules might be thrown out there, particularly if the American public demands it? And we've got an American public that's fed up with the electoral system. I mean, they think the whole thing is rigged. They feel like their voices have been muted. And they want answers, and they want more accountability from the candidates. Could that morph into something where you must release your health records, you must release tax records, you must release private foundations and what you've done with money?
I really think that the thing that is dramatically going to be different in the future is this sort of 24/7 private media of the internet. I think a lot of these kinds of stories that don't get covered in the mainstream media and even on TV and radio shows, they get covered first and foremost in places like Twitter and Facebook. And I think that is going to be the dramatic change going forward. This constant pajama media, if you will, of the blogosphere talking about issues that perhaps others are unwilling to do so until, of course, it reaches a critical mass. And then, of course, people will be happy to talk about it on TV and radio. But sometimes it takes a while to bubble up and get to that point.
And, of course, there are a lot of things that never materialize from the internet because they're not true at all.
Of course, yeah.
Of course, they never die. They do linger and they do kind of bubble up.
But that's the beauty of the marketplace of ideas. Right. Certain ideas, you know, the idea of free speech in the First Amendment is that people get to debate it out. Good ideas that are legitimate, that people appreciate and respect, continue onwards. And the ideas that are fatally flawed fall by the wayside. The marketplace of ideas, there's winners and losers, and that's always been the case, and hopefully will continue in the future.
Doc, we got the debates coming up. I'm not sure if the candidates have to stand. You know, I'm not sure if they can ask for a stool. Because I think I've seen both in the past. I'm really not sure how this is going to be set up. But if indeed they're made to stand or asked to stand for 2 or 3 hours, would that be a good test for Hillary Clinton, for the public to see just what kind of physical shape she's in?
You'll get some idea, but I don't think they'll give the whole story because some of these issues are very intermittent. They can occur once every week or two or month.
What did you make of the fact then that she came out of Chelsea's apartment in less than 2 hours? I mean, listen, I know it was a brief walk from the building to the van, but she looked pretty fresh. You know, some people look like she lost weight. Some people wonder if she had Botox while she was in there. I think she had one of those oxygen chambers. I don't know. I'm ready to go to Chelsea's place this weekend and see if, instead of going to the gym.
Sounds good. I think whatever happened was very brief and intermittent, but we don't know what the cause really was.
But could the idea that she recovered that quickly dispel some of the worst-case scenarios for her?
You know, not necessarily, because things are intermittent, you know, whether it be seizure or mini strokes, and they can recover very quickly. I'm not saying that's what she had, but these are things that can be very brief and very intermittent, occur once every month or once every week. So it's hard to know. The cause is really in the data. The data is either a CAT scan or an MRI of her brain.
Mark, I'm going to digress a little bit. Just talking about the debates, Donald Trump threw out the idea perhaps of no moderators. Sounds pretty enticing. What would you think? Has that ever happened before in the history of presidential elections?
Well, you know, the Lincoln-Douglas debates, which were not presidential, by the way, it was for the Senate seat in the state of Illinois, but the Lincoln-Douglas debates between, Abraham Lincoln and Mr. Douglas, of course, were, I don't believe there were moderators there. Right? I mean, there's a lot of people there, and they went on for literally days, right? And so there's all sorts of precedents. And again, as you pointed out earlier in the segment, Charles, there's no reason why precedents have to be followed. You can change it, have new precedents, do it differently because of what the demand is and what actually works. So I don't see a big downside in changing it up. Why not? It happens all the time in the real world. Why can't it happen in presidential politics?
Yeah, something tells me it won't this time around, but it is a compelling idea. Before